Hello all, I'm sure we all agree that Starmer's premiership has been an absolute disaster over the past year, but in one sense it has been quite interesting to see lots of the lovely liberal ideals break apart in real time. I've spoken before on the channel about how many leftists are trapped more in ideology than reality. That is the ideology of feminism, of anti-racism, painting themselves as the heroic minority, pushing for justice for the oppressed in the country and around the world. Yet in reality, this doesn't tend to map onto the truth. It's really an ego position which paints yourself as the heroic moderate against the oppressive hordes, the cruel, brutal people of the world, and you're fighting the good fight alone. But again, such a worldview isn't challenging or rebellious at all. In fact, it's highly socially conformist with the power structure of the age. Government, academia, media, sport, all of them rattle on about the same narrative and ideology. Now, normally when they're not in power, this is kept to the fringes, but when they are in power, it's exposed on the national level. And we see this here in Jess Phillips in her interview with LBC. Remember, Jess Phillips is supposed to be safeguarding women and girls.
Afghans are 20%, according to these numbers, 20 times more likely to account for sex offence convictions than British people. Does that concern you?
I have to look across all of this data and think about where I have to really focus and target resources on the prevention work that I am determined to do.
Translation: I only care about the sexual assault of women and girls if it's white British people doing it. If it's not, I'll turn a blind eye because that's against my intersectional, loving liberal ideology.
Do you think there are people in this country who have a culturally very, very different view of women and therefore are more likely to be engaged in these kinds of activities?
Which culture doesn't have patriarchy and misogyny in it?
Appalling from Phillips here, as I'm very eager to point out on this channel, patriarchy should not be equated with a hatred of women. Through the Christian understanding, it's a loving approach to life which brings order, stability, health for men, health for women, health for children, health for society. And while we're at it, if a bunch of Afghans were going around abusing our women and girls, patriarchy will deal with that in about half a second, decisively.
Because...
Do you think?
I have seen victims and perpetrators from every single walk of life.
Total leftist deflection, not an argument. You find crime in every single group, yes, but what matters is scale.
Do you think we are a fundamentally misogynistic?
I tell you what the group of people who are most likely to abuse, that is men.
Oh, that grin. That grin. This grin should tell us everything we need to know about women like Jess Phillips. She is not concerned about other women and girls. She's not tolerant, compassionate, and full of love. She's got a bee in her bonnet about men, specifically British men, especially right-wing men, and they fulfill the demonic figure in her ideology. She constantly must paint herself as the hero to such an extent she will ignore the actual abuse of women and girls so she can paint herself in a good light. Now, this does amount to reason 2784 as to why women are leading the charge of Western decline. They just don't seem to be equipped to lead and implement strong, sane boundaries. After all, it's the dawn of gynocracy which led to situations like this. This is GB politics. Syrian asylum seeker 18 if you look at the fella, appears in court accused of raping women in a public toilet on a Bournemouth seafront. Now remember, according to Jess, it's patriarchy that's misogynistic, yet it's her liberal system which has led to situations like this. And let's be honest, is this guy really 18? Why is he even here in the country anyway, let alone attacking our women on our seafronts? But don't worry, we've got another short-haired, bolshy Labour woman to tell us about how we're all evil and stupid and thick and disgusting, and how Afghans can actually teach us something about civility.
But we do have to make sure that we help them assimilate, because they are moving a different culture about a respect for older people as well. I mean, some of them could teach some of our youngsters a lesson or two about respect for older.
I'm not sure about that.
You see what I mean? Two men that I'm not particularly fond of, Farage off screen and Kwasi Kwarteng, calling out this hippy-dippy, liberal, noble, savage nonsense that the Afghanis are going to come here and teach us how to be civil. Now, as I've said before, these feminine compassionate qualities are good in the right context, like, the family, child rearing, community building, offering a different view to the masculine. That's all valid. Of course, that was once moderated by our tradition, but the likes of Jess Phillips have decided that our tradition's oppressive, and now we apply those feminine mothering instincts on the meta global political level, and now we can see the results. We're not alone in this. This weird brainwashing dynamic is happening across Europe. This is a case from Germany a couple of years ago. A female judge over there let 8 migrants go free after they sexually assaulted a 15-year-old girl for 3 hours. The defence of these migrants said they were frustrated at their migrant status in the country. And back to my core point. Patriarchy would deal with this decisively. It knows the space for compassion, but this situation is not one. It's time for hard justice. Now, at its core, the issue here isn't just females, it's a spiritual femininity that's come to dominate the Western world since we removed our core tradition, which is rooted in the love of God the Father, the ultimate patriarch. Now, with the removal of our backbone, it means many groups can come into the Western world and use this spiritual femininity to their own advantage. Of course, the bolshy women of the age think migrants would never come in and do such a thing. You're just a bigoted, stupid racist. You need to admit that you're trans and gay like everybody else and get with the program. Then we can join hands and sing Kumbaya at the LGBTQ parade forever. Yet in reality, migrant groups have come here en masse and now are manipulating the system for their own ethno-religious cultural benefit.
This is the extraordinary case of another convicted sex offender who continues to act inappropriately towards women, but was allowed to stay in Britain because committing sexual acts in public in Afghanistan would put him at high risk of physical violence from mob mentality. He was represented by this firm, but the top lawyer in the company disputes any suggestion that so-called lefty lawyers are to blame for the asylum crisis.
The asylum system is broken. That's the reality of it.
But when we have lawyers who go to tribunals and argue that convicted sex offenders, who the government has turned down, should be allowed to remain in Britain, that's part of the problem, isn't it?
Lawyers only work within the system created, our own justice system. Now you've got a government who makes the laws, who runs the system, who makes the decisions, but somehow it's lawyers? I mean, come on.
Now look, it goes without saying that our friend Ahmed here is a subversive, but is he wrong? He's right. It's the system that's doing this. It's us that's allowing this to happen, or at least our rulers. Maybe they want it to happen. Can we really blame Ahmed for basically working in the interest of his own ethno-religious group? After all, we're not liberals. We don't expect these people to come here, start listening to Morrissey and Oasis and reading J.G. Ballard and become just like us in 5 to 10 years. The real question here is, have the British, the European and the Western people got the balls, quite literally the balls, to stand up to this feminist ideology and say, this isn't compassionate, this isn't kind, this isn't wise, this doesn't create better outcomes, it creates cruelty, it creates chaos, it creates manipulation, and it creates abuse. What warms my heart in the darkness and chaos of modernity is that as things fall apart, that great masculine vitality of Western man may well rise once more and bring sanity and order to this messy world we're in. If you are interested in that sort of thing, do consider subscribing to the sister channel, The Sacred Way. It's all about personal and spiritual transformation. Other than that, do let me know what you think about this down below, and do consider subscribing to the channel if you're new.